All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this live broadcast. Welcome to our weekly webinar, the Skill Up Show. Good afternoon to you, wherever you are watching me from. Could be good morning at your end, or good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is for you. How are you doing? I am so sorry I'm not using my usual studio. We have had some lighting issues in the studio. Don't worry, I'm gonna have a better studio very soon. All right, so we had to look for an alternative studio and work from there for now. All right, if you're here with me, do not just be in the background, say hello to me. Okay, today we are talking about yet another interesting topic in parenting. Right, my name is Marybeth Chima. I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources. And of course, I'm the proud matron of the Mastermind Circle, our peer mentorship and accountability group for young children and preteens, where we help parents. We partner with parents, we collaborate with parents to support their children 100%. So, if you are here right now, do not just be in the background. Why don't you say something in the comments so that I know that we have company in you? Sorry, we started a bit late. It's because we have all of these technical issues, lighting, and getting the perfect studio stage position. Apart from that, we have also struggled with being able to stream on the same platform to different stream from to different platforms at the same time. We've had some challenges with that, and so we're unable to stream from one source, and that on its own is posing a bit of a problem for us. We are working tirelessly to see if we can rectify these two issues that are a little beyond what we can fix like this. So we're doing everything possible to fix this so that we can have a better streaming time and everything that it takes to give you the best that you deserve. All right. I hope my studio is not too dark. I am trying. Okay, let's see if I can make this even brighter. Okay. Okay, so you have it there. It should be a little brighter on Facebook. All right, so welcome, welcome. There's no need to waste any more time. Let's just jump right into what we're talking about today. So today we're looking at how we can, as parents, what we can do to overcome educational barriers for our toddlers at home. Yes, so your toddler could be one who already goes to school, and yet the child is, you can already see that the child is having certain challenges when it comes to education. That could be you. You could also be a parent of a toddler who hasn't gone to school yet. The toddler is right at home with you, but you can already begin to notice some educational challenges. How do you overcome this? This is what we are talking about today. If you are watching me right now, you can see me right now loud and clear. Could you let me know this in the comment section if you can see me and you can hear me loud and clear? If you're watching me on Facebook, let me know on Facebook that you can see me and you can hear me. Okay, if you're catching the replay also, let me know that you can see me. And also let me know where you are joining me from. Do you have a friend who is a parent of a toddler, a parent of a young child, or a parent of a preteen? You may want to invite them to be a part of what we do here, because there is a lot that is going on here, and there's so much that you can learn from what we do on this platform. Right, if you are on YouTube, have you subscribed to this channel yet? Okay, this channel is robust, full of resources that you can use on your parenting journey. So why don't you go ahead and subscribe to our channel, and while you are at it, remember to click on the notification button so that every time we go live, you get to join us and we get to ask your pertinent questions in parenting, and we will be glad to answer your questions, of course, because hey, we're at your service right here at PTM Resources. So welcome to you again. Let's dive right into what we're talking about. Now, parents, there are so many things, all right? There's so many factors that can be the reason why your child is having challenges in their education. Your toddlers, right? Now, some people will say, why worry about your toddler? I mean, the child is just a toddler, so you shouldn't worry about the fact that your toddler has certain challenges. In other quarters, you have in other areas, in other places, you have parents who are worried about the things that their toddlers have no business, with knowing at the time. Now, the question is, how do I know whether I should be worried or not? Or how do I even, how do I know that my 6 year old, my 5 year old is having challenges or learning challenges at all? This is what we're going to be looking at so that you are not expecting too much from your toddlers and you begin to get worried overly when there is no need to get worried. And that you do not become too negligent, that you do not realize that your toddler is probably having some challenges, right? How do you recognize, when you should be worried or when you should do something to support your toddlers, right? So that's what we're talking about here. So let me start here by saying, dear parents, every child, every single child needs your support. Every child within, there are some arguments that, some people are arguing, okay, we shouldn't say parenting is for 18 years, we shouldn't say parenting is for a number of years. But dear parents, at the point where your child is still learning actively, at the point where your child is still learning actively and still dependent on you, right, actively, it is your responsibility to support them adequately. We realize that by the time our children grow older, by the time they get to 16, 17, 18, their dependency on us, or the areas where they depend on us or they need our assistance, become limited. It's really very few in few areas. And at this point, they can clearly say to you, this is where I need you and this is where I don't need you. Okay. Now, but in the case of your toddler may not be able to say to you, hey mom, this is where I need you. Hey dad, this is where I need you. So it is your responsibility as a parent to identify the areas or the places where your children need you or need help, or where they have gaps that need to be filled, because at this point they don't really know what they need. So yes, the best way to mitigate, or the best way to overcome any form of challenges, is to preempt the challenges in the first place and ensure that you are supporting your child from day one. Okay, so from day one, from before your child even comes, you should, as a parent, position yourself to support your child. That is the best advice, that is the best thing that any parents can do. Prepare yourself, position yourself to support your child from day one. However, we know that some of us here already have children who are toddlers. Some of us have children who are almost toddlers. Some of us have children who have even grown beyond the toddler phase, and yet they are still struggling with some of the skills, right, they should have as toddlers. Now, what do we do in this case? This is what we are looking at today. So I said there are a number of things that could be the reason why your toddler is struggling with learning or struggling with education. All right, let's look at some of those things that could be factors so that we are checking and seeing that we do not have these issues already. And if these issues are there already, then don't worry. We will be giving you some tips that you can apply to start working with your children. Now, parents, I want you to understand this, that tips are not enough on your parenting journey. We come here every morning and we have this session and we share tips with you. That's because this is the much that we can get in a 45-minute or 1 hour class. Okay, parenting requires much more than just tips here and there. Parenting requires your commitment. Parenting requires accountability. Parenting requires continuous learning. Parenting requires community collaborations. So you can't just get tips here and tips there and think that it is enough for you to parent. You must commit more to this journey. You cannot wing parenting. You shouldn't, and you should not. You should not trivialize or take parenting as something that is by the way. If you have found yourself in that place where you don't wake up and intentionally, all right, or deliberately make efforts towards your parenting by way of learning, by way of building, by way of creating, and by way of purposefully visualizing and creating plans to actualize your vision, then you need to run back to the drawing board and start doing what you have to do today. Because if you do this, your child may not complain today, but I promise you, the damage that is going on their parents is much more than you can imagine. And sometimes this damage that we are doing as parents are damages that will be with our children for the rest of their lives. These are damages that will show up when they are 10, show up when they are 20, at 30, at 40. Do you know that even at 50, some of us will still suffer for the things that our parents did or did not do? So this is why, as a parent, one of the biggest gifts that you can give your child is the gift of the advantage that they have simply because you are their parent. Number one thing, right, of many other of many, I'm going to be giving you five. There are many other things that can contribute to why your child is struggling. Okay, the number one thing I'm going to be giving here today is cultural and social factors, right? Cultural and social factors, of course, can pose a problem in your child's learning or your child's learning and your child's education, basically. All right, so we know how there are different biases, prejudices that you have around the world. There are beliefs and the culture that could come in the way of your child's education or your child's learning. For instance, there's some part of this country that you will go to, but there's still the argument and there's still the struggle of whether children should go to school or shouldn't go to school, isn't it? There's still that. There are communities that you go to that there's still the struggle about whether the girl child needs an education or the girl child does not need an education. The places you still go to that there is a cap on how much education the girl child needs, and all of that. So there are all of these cultural beliefs. Okay, there are some of the subtle things that we even believe as learned people, okay, as to what should go to a child, a girl child, what should go to a boy child. So all of these things are biases that could come in and be a problem and can be a challenge in our children's education, right? Even at that stage where our children are toddlers, there are certain cultural beliefs, right? There are certain cultural beliefs that can pose a problem. Or sometimes it's not even cultural. It could just be our mindset and our ideology. For instance, some of us feel that by the time our children are 0 to 3, they really do not need us like that. All they need is a nanny who is at home, who can make sure that they get food to eat when they need to eat food. They can bath them nicely so that they can go to sleep, and all of that. So some of us, the only arrangement that we have for our children when they are 0 to 3 is that there is some nanny at home. It doesn't matter that this nanny is completely illiterate. It doesn't matter that this nanny is someone that doesn't have anything to teach or impute, right? Into your child. It doesn't matter that this nanny is even a threat to your child. All that we're concerned about at this stage for some of us as parents, okay, and I'm talking like real learned parents, professional, that you would expect, should know more. Okay, now these are some of the things. And this, of course, is coming from the place of ignorance, or coming from the place, of coming from the fact that there are many things that parents should keep themselves abreast with that they haven't. And because they don't know any better, right, they have certain mindsets, or they go with certain styles that end up harming the child or end up being an obstacle in the child's education or in the child's learning process. And this will come back and hurts the child or come back, and be a hindrance to the child's success in the future. So our beliefs, our culture, okay, our beliefs, our culture, ideology, social factors, all of these things can actually be a problem can actually be the reason why our children have certain obstacles when it comes to learning and their education. All right, so that's number one. Number two is learning disabilities. Of course, we know this one. Okay, if the child has got certain if the child learns differently, or the child has got certain challenges that is hindering the child from learning at an optimal level, okay, or certain challenges that stops the child from learning the way that other children around the child learn. Now, and we don't know this. This, of course, would definitely pose a challenge in the child's education, okay, or in the child's learning. And that's because the people that the child is learning from probably do not recognize that this child is challenged in any way. The people that this child is learning from probably do not recognize that the way that they are delivering or teaching this child is a way that the child cannot learn. So as a teacher, as a parent, or as someone that a learner is learning from, if you are not speaking the language of the learner, it simply means that the learner is not learning because you are not speaking the language of the learner. Now, how do you know whether you are speaking the language of the learner or if you're not speaking the language of the learner? I mean, we've had cases of children who have had certain challenges that their parents had no idea about till the children became 4, 5, sometimes even 8, 7, and 8. I mean, there's a mother on Facebook that I follow that her child is on the autism spectrum, and she talks about how she didn't know that there was any challenge right there. It took, I mean, I think it was somewhere around when the child was about 6 or 7 that she decided to go and look for help or check to see if there's a challenge. Like, okay, at 1 the child wasn't talking, at 2, at 3, at 4. Okay, so it took her that long before she started trying to get answers. Okay, and even at the point where the child was diagnosed and the child was said to probably have something, a challenge that the child was dealing with. According to her, it took her another, stretch of time to come to terms with it or to accept the fact that her child could be challenged. So these are some of the things that could be. All right, so these are some of the factors that can stay in the way of our children being able to learn, okay, or achieve education in the maximum, at their maximum capacity. But if we don't know this as parents, what happens? Our children will be there, not learning. Our children will be there, struggling. Our children will be there, not optimizing their capacity, and we would not know this. And then worst still, if they now go to schools where even the educators are not paying attention, or they are not even trained to recognize some of these challenges that the children have. So you realize that if you are going to keep depending on schools and depending on tradition, depending on schools, right, and you end up with a school that doesn't know how to recognize these challenges. So you see what will happen. Your child will struggle, your child will suffer because you are there depending on the school, and the school does not have an idea. So as an intentional parent, that's one of the things that you do for yourself and your child. You do not leave anything to chances. You are present, you are available, you are informed. Yes, you are informed. You may not know all, or you may not have all it takes to support your child. You may not have all it takes to give your child what the child needs, but it is not right that you do not know that your child needs help. So it's important as a parent that you are so informed, you are alert, and you are present enough to see and to be able to tell that, okay, that something is off. That's the least we can do now. To know this child that we've carried for a whole 9 months, to know this child that has been with you every day of their life, you should be able to tell that, something is off. Something, Yeah, I may be wrong, but hey, I would rather seek intervention. I would rather ask questions. I would rather, take the child, to check this thing than just sit down there and continue to think that, I know it all, or that I know what's going on with the child. Or worst case, to even worse, to not even know that there's anything wrong. All right. So that's another thing. If the child has got some learning setbacks or disabilities, then that could be a reason why your child will struggle with learning and education, even as a toddler. All right. Number three is the parenting advantage. Yes. If your child does not have the parenting advantage, this could be one of the reasons why your child will struggle. Yes. See, we are at the stage, we're at the point where the parenting disadvantage has got, may not necessarily be as a result of the fact that one parent is rich or one parent is poor, right? It may not be that. The highest parenting disadvantage is actually ignorance, because you can be learned, yes, you can be a professional, and yet you are ignorant about a lot of things that you should know. If this is you, your child will still struggle with all the high school fees that you pay, with all of the Gucci and Nike, buffs that the child is wearing, with all of the, amazing meals that you have in your home, with all of the gadgets that you have, your child could still struggle with learning or struggle with education, because you as a parent are ignorant of certain things. So the other day I was walking, and I was actually doing my normal morning exercise routine, and I saw some children. The way you have all of these uncompleted buildings, and you have some families living there with their children and all of that. All right. So I was walking out. In fact, I was almost rounding up, and I was on my way home, and this was like past 8, and I saw the kids, trying to. They were on their way to school, and while on their way to school, they were playing and all of that. So of course I said hi. They don't speak English; they speak Hausa. My Hausa is not very strong, right, to communicate with them. And I'm like, shouldn't you be running to school? You're late and all of that. They looked at me and they were laughing, and all of that. But then again, now look at these children, right? They live right in the heart of Abuja, right? They live right in the heart of Abuja. Their parents are, right here in the heart of Abuja. It could be, in a building that is not so wonderful, but hey, they live here and they live somewhere. Do you know that even as, underprivileged or as poor as this family is, if the parents have got knowledge, they can still ensure that the children optimize what is available to them. For instance, the children go to school. That's because the education is probably free to an extent, or at least they can afford that education. That on its own is enough for the children to absorb everything that they can take from that system. All this parent need to do is to ensure that this child gets up early enough in the morning. This has nothing to do with whether you're rich or whether you're poor, right? So all this parent needs to do is ensure that these children get up early in the morning, and that they can at least, because the children are walking, they're trekking to school, but that they can at least escort or go with the kids to ensure that they get into school as early as possible, or at least model to them for a period of time, and help them understand the importance of leaving home and ending up in school as early as possible. Now, if these parents are able to help these children imbibe this culture, I promise you, these children will maximize all that is available to them. Okay, it's the same way some of us have all of these resources that we need, and yet our children go to school and they come back, and these children have a lot of loopholes in their learning. These children have habits that do not promote learning. And because we are too busy, our children still end up struggling, or they still end up not achieving or working at their maximum capacity, because the person to help them internalize the right habit is not present, or you are not present enough to see that the children are not doing what they need to do. So an ignorant parent, or a parent who isn't available, right, will still get the same result. We still get, negative results, or will not help this child maximize their abilities, right? Simply, or their capacity rather, simply because the parent is not available, or the parent is not, present as they should be. And this has got nothing to do with whether they are poor or they are rich. It has nothing to do with their paychecks. Do you understand? So that's what I'm talking about. So sometimes the parenting advantage, or the parent, not sometimes, the parenting advantage that you give your child is not so much dependent on how heavy your pocket is, right? Yes, I know that money plays its part. We will come to that. But at least we can all still give our children, okay, we can all still give our children some level. All right, we can give our children some level of empowerment, no matter our positions, or no matter our financial standings. All right, so very, very important. The parenting advantage could be a reason why your child is doing well, educate in their education, or a reason why your child is struggling in that area. Number four, the home environment. Very, very key. The child is an offspring of his environment, dear parents. The child is an offspring of their environment. The environment of the child, as much as any other person is. I mean, the teacher, the environment is enough. I mean, is as much of a teacher as you are to your child. Okay, in the first place, you are your child's first environment. I hope you know that. The time the child is born, everything in that environment is you, first of all right? So you're the first person that your child is going to learn from. And then after that, you begin to give access to other people, give access to the things in that environment, and the child begins to learn from that wider environment. So yes, the child is the offspring of their environment. So parents, what kind of environment are you creating in your home for your child? If you are on this call and you are not intentional about your environment, you're wrong. If you're not intentional about your environment, you're not intentional about the things in your environment, what your children listen to, what your children know, what your children see, what your children consume, what your children are talking about. If you are not conscious about this, then you are doing them a disservice, especially if you are a parent of a toddler, okay, and a young person. Because at this stage, your child is in that phase, okay, between 0 and 3, especially. Your child is in that phase where the child is absorbing everything from their environment. Everything that the senses can grab, your child is absorbing. What they see, what they hear, what they perceive, what they smell, all of it, what they touch, everything is teaching your child. Everything in their environment is teaching your child. Everything in that environment is imprinting on the child, is imprinting and is forming who this child is going to be today and as an adult. Remember that the child is the offspring of the adult is the offspring of the child that you were. So yes, whatever it is that the child is absorbing right now is going to inform the adults that they will be. So for you that you think that your child can listen to anything, oh, their children, they don't know what they are doing, you're wrong. Your children are absorbing. That's what will fuel their subconscious mind. Yes, and so in the future, when they have any experience that needs to be fueled by, power or previous experiences, it's the previous experiences that they have in that area that their subconscious mind will present to them. And yes, it's what they've heard, it's what they've seen, it's what they know in that area that the subconscious mind will give. So you cannot give what you do not know. You cannot give what you do not have. So the subconscious mind will present to your child when the child needs, um, certain skills, certain information to deal with circumstances in their life. It is what they've experienced that the subconscious mind will present to them. So everything that your child is absorbing in their environment is very, very key. So when you turn on your TV and you leave it there, just know that what is going on there is imprinting on who your child is going to be. All right. So yesterday I was going out with our son. We needed to take a professional. He needed to take a professional picture. All right, because he's being honored, as an author and all of that. And our daughter decided not to come with us, right? She was at home and she decided not to come with us. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, oh no, I'm just going to go online. I'm like, online how? Why? For what? How is it going to happen? And she's like, oh, sorry, I forgot. You're not here. Okay, so you can't go online. You can't go online when there isn't a trusted adult at home. And I said trusted with emphasis. There isn't a trusted adult at home to help make sure that you are navigating only the right places that you should be. All right. So what is it that your children have got access to? Some of us hand them really huge phones. I mean, we hand them gadgets that can take them around the world in 2 seconds. We hand them gadgets that are smarter than life, right? We hand these things to these children, and somewhere along the line, I don't know what we say to ourselves. I don't know what we say to ourselves, right? With technology that is able to use algorithm to present all kinds of things to your children. So we need to be careful, right? We need to be careful uh, about who is co-parenting with us, because I hope you know your TV is co-parenting with you, the gadgets are co-parenting with you, the people that have access to your children, the people in your home are co-parenting with you. Yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, we onboarded our new partners in the mastermind circle, right? The mastermind circle is a peer mentorship and accountability group that we run, by the way, for children between 6 and 14. So at the end of that session, I was talking to the parents and I told them how I am super, as in honored, like I'm really honored that they allowed me access to their children, because that's what it is. I told them how I'm super honored that, just like that, you trust me enough and you have given me access to your children. Because right now, what you've done is you've opened their ears and their hearts to me. And it's the same thing with the people that you give access to your children, be it a lesson teacher, a school teacher, the maids that come into your home, the driver, all of these people that have access to your children. It is access, real access that they have to your children. Because what these people think, their ideology, the language that they speak, how they speak, what they say, is going to imprint on your child. So you need to be careful. We all need to be careful, the people that we give access to our children. I mean, if your house help is that one that believes in certain things, if your house help is that one that all she wants to do is practice all the songs that every musician in Nigeria is singing, just be sure that this is it. This is what your child is learning, because at the point where you leave your child with that girl, everything that is okay for the girl is what your child is going to be learning. Okay, everything that is okay, how she speaks, how she responds. The places that she goes to, the things that are okay for her. All right. So when you do those interviews for the people who come to be with you, I hope we've gone past just running a hepatitis B and HIV test. We've reached the point where we are running we're running real tests, about the person's personality, what the person believes in, the person's ideology. We should start having those kind of tests also, because hey, this person is going to be loading your child with all of these things, because this is who the person is, and the person is going to be with your child not for 2 minutes, not for 10 minutes, sometimes, right? Not for 2 minutes, not for 10 minutes, for 2 months, for 2 years, for all of that time. So definitely a piece or a slice of that person is going to form who your child is going to be, or what your child knows today. All right. So the fourth one is the access that the children have to resources. The access that they have to resources, of course, is going to imprint on how they learn, and of course, how they embrace education and whether or not they struggle with this. Okay, it could be a barrier also. All right, so yes, here we talked about resources, and of course a child that is from a home where they have everything that they need, right, to support them. Okay, a child that is from a home where the parents have the resources, where the parents are, rich enough to, afford certain resources. The child needs to learn a trade. I'm sorry, needs to learn a skill, perhaps go to music school. The child needs to, all of these. The child needs to travel somewhere to get some more skills, or to explore the parents can afford. So all of this, of course, is going to give the child certain advantages simply because they have access to resources. But do you know that there are parents who have access, who can give their children access to resources, and yet they don't know what kind of resources that the children need, or what kind of resources they should put their money in. So it's not enough that you just have the money. I have seen cases where parents, you offer a parent a book, or you point a parent to a book, and the parent simply says to you, I beg go, my children, they don't read book. These are parents that can buy 20, 50, 100 books if they like, but these are parents that will turn and they will say to you, I beg, these children, they will just tear it, they don't like books. And the parents will just talk about it, flippantly like that, and stroll off and not buy books. Meanwhile, look at these children and you will see how dope they are looking. Like, you can tell that the shoe that the child is wearing alone will buy a carton of books. Yes, the parent is not investing in books. How can you not be investing in books today in this 21st century? How are you engaging your children, dear parents? I hope you know that your preteens need, there's certain things that you need to start, introducing, right? So books, for one, is one of the things that you want to start introducing, to your toddlers. You want to introduce these things right now so that your child begins to get used to these things. These things become normal to your child. So by the time your child is a preteen, where your child needs to start gathering where your child needs to start improving their perspective, in different areas of life. At that point where reading should be a culture that your child has internalized, right? It is easy if you are a parent that has introduced books since the child was an infant, or since the child was a toddler. But if you are not a parent who introduces book as early as possible, you realize that your preteen is struggling. That's why you hear things like, oh, they don't like books, they will tear it. Of course, why wouldn't they tear it? When it didn't mean anything all this while, and then all of a sudden the child is 12 and you want to force book down their throat. But then again, is it about forcing it down their throat? Or at this point, you also still want to look for the best way, right, to help your child embrace it, because you know that it is a skill. It is a life skill. Reading is a life skill. Yes, reading is a life skill, and one that every child should have access to. One that every parent should help their child develop. All right? I have seen parents who their children will grow and become even teenagers. You have a 16-year-old who is struggling with picking and reading a paragraph of a book. Some of our children will not read a single thing except it has to do with schoolwork. And we think that it is okay. If it's not math and chemistry and home economics and things like that, right? That the children do not have, a choice, right? Oh, everybody should have an education. So that's the real thing. Okay, everybody should have an education, and that's the only thing that we press on, and is the only thing that we talk about, and so the children know that education is a given. And so they don't have a choice. So they must have an education. And so you realize that the only thing that your child is reading in this life is their textbook and their notebooks. Your child will not pick a random book and read to get knowledge and read to develop themselves personally. And you think it's okay. At the stage where people are already buying books as birthday presents, buying books as souvenirs, you are still at that point where your 16-year-old is having trouble with reading. Their parents, help these children now, I beg you. Help these children. No 16-year-old, no 15-year-old, in fact, no toddler should not embrace books. Every child needs to be put in that space where they begin to love, enjoy, and embrace reading for leisure. So it's something you want to do. Okay, please, it's something you want to do. All right. Look around you. I mean, we have a challenge that comes up somewhere later in the year where we help parents work with their children to cultivate the habit of reading. It's something that you will have to put the work into to get your children to do. All right. If you have children who are already reading simple books like, simple story books and all of that, you want to also begin to point them to books that develop them gradually. Okay. By giving them little books, start with little books, okay, on integrity, on, emotional intelligence, small books like that, just small leaflets and pamphlets like that, just to point them to things like that. Read the books together. Do what we call body reading with your children. When you get some of these books, we have some of our amazing books for preteens, right? So I have this book, Unlocking Excellence. I say to parents, Unlocking Excellence is a beautiful read that you can use for body reading with your child. Because in this book, you're trying to help the child. So the book is Unlocking Excellence, a student's guide to success beyond the classroom. Now, this is a topic, or this is a subject that, any parent, any child, can connect with, being successful. Everybody wants to be successful. I mean, even your 4-year-old wants to be successful. All right. So for your preteens, you want to read a book like this. I mean, it's about how we can be successful. And you can read together. Take a chapter every day, or take 2 pages every day. Take 3 pages every day. Read it together. Let your child share their perspective on the book. And you also get to share your perspective on the book. And before you know it, you realize that you are having a conversation. The book is laden with stories. It has nuggets. It has, things that will prompt, arguments between you and all of that. That way you can bless your child with the gift of perspective. Share your perspective with your child. So yes, body reading is an amazing way to introduce your children to other genre of books, or introduce them to personal development books, and things like that, right? So that you begin to shift them from just storybooks. I mean, for some of you, Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Doc Diary and what do you call it, Horrid Henry. That is what your 10, 12, 14, even your 15-year-old is still reading. How about parents? We need to move them, okay? We need to move them. And yes, they may not embrace, these other things, on their own. Share it with them. That's why I say body reading is very, very key. All right, we have another amazing book here. It's Young and Money Smart. You can also use this for your conversations. And for your little ones, we have Playtime Stories for Champions. Now, this one is activities. So you see, for your little ones, you can do an activity together. Children love to play. Children enjoy playing. All right. So get them in, read them a story, and then get an activity on the way. Prepare the place, and then do the activity together. Gradually, while you're doing that, you are bringing your child to the point where the child is embracing reading. Gradually, we got you, parents. We got you. We have solutions as far as it comes to supporting your young children and your preteens. You are not taking advantage. You're not taking advantage. And part of the reason you're not taking advantage of all of these resources we have for you is because you are not paying attention. We need to start paying attention, parents. The repercussions of not paying attention are too there for you to, don't gamble with, raising children effectively right now if you can. All right, don't gamble with it at all, because the truth is you will pay the price. You must pay the price. You either do it now or you will do it later. And none of us wants to pay the price later, I tell you, because paying the price later comes with a lot of pain. Yes, paying the price later. You see how you see parents, you see those parents that you see, they brag and they tell you how their children have one lesson teacher for maths, one lesson teacher for English, and you see the parents, they'll carry the child, they'll drive the child to this lesson, drive the child here, drive the child up and down. You think in this present Nigeria that fuel price is so high. You think that's cruise. It's not cruise, though. You're suffering already and you don't know it. You think that you're making a sacrifice for your child, but no, you are already reaping you're reaping the price for not setting the foundation right. Because as far as I'm concerned, if the foundation is right, why are you jumping around? No, ask yourself this question: why are you jumping around for a child that is already doing well? What is all the jump around about? Except of course the child is learning a skill like music and things like that. That's the only time that we should be jumping around, dear parents. Okay, when they're learning some extra skills, that of course, okay, extracurricular skills and things like that that you cannot pass down to the child, where they need expert training, coaching, and all of that. All right, so good. So the last one we're talking about, I said access to resources. We talked about home environment. We talked about parenting advantage. We talked about learning disabilities, and then cultural. So we've talked about all five that I wanted to share with you. All right, so quickly we will use the next 10 minutes to look at how to help our children, right? How to help our children, or how to overcome these educational barriers, right, that our toddlers can be suffering from, or that they are dealing with right now. All right, so at what point do you think, do you recognize, or do you know that your child or your toddler is probably struggling? Now you have your toddler. Now people would say your toddler is a child between 3, right? So some would say between 2 and 5. For the purpose of this class, let's look at your toddler as that child that is between 2, that is between 3 and 6 for the purpose of this class. So let's look at your toddler, at this, between this age, because we work with children from age 6. If your child is 5 years and 6-7 months, we can work with that child already in the mastermind circle. So let's look at your 3-year-olds, your 4-year-olds, and then up to your 6-year-olds. All right, now you have your 3-year-olds, your 6-year-olds who do not like to sit down to learn anything. All right, the moment that your child is not watching TV, there isn't a screen in front of the child, there isn't passive engagement happening, the child is not interested. Now when you have that, then perhaps there is something going on there that you need to pay attention to. The fact that every time you bring the storybook and you're like, hey sweetie, I'm reading you a story, the child doesn't want to stay. The moment you notice that your child's attention span is very, very short. So for your 3-year-old, the moment you can keep your 3-year-old for at least 5 to 6 minutes, okay, it is said that the experts say, for your child, their attention span should be double or triple their age. So for your 6-year-old, you should be able to keep your 6-year-old, for say 6 minutes to 10 minutes, right? You should get their attention. But we have children that we can't even keep for 2 minutes. So the moment you realize that you can't keep your child even for 2 minutes in one place, that you need to pay attention, that okay, there isn't something to look at, or something that may need intervention, right? I'm not saying sit there and diagnose your child yourself. I'm just saying, if these are the things that you are seeing, then you want to pay more attention, okay, to see if this is happening regularly or consistently. The moment you see that this is a norm, it's consistent with the child, then you may need to, see an expert with that child to be sure that, nothing is amiss. All right, so you want to pay attention to that. The moment you have your 3-year-olds, your 6-year-olds that cannot do anything at all for themselves, anything at all for themselves, they cannot take their spoon and eat their food. They can't do anything at all for themselves. Then you need to pay attention. Okay. And this one, you look inward first. How have you supported your child? Remember, I said the fact that you as a parent are ignorant and or that you are not present enough. If you're not present enough or you are ignorant about the fact that your child has the ability, right? That the capacity rather, your child has the capacity for a lot. For instance, your child can actually eat a meal by themselves if you allow the child to practice doing this regularly. If you help the child to develop their fine motor skills, if you have been present enough and you know what to do to stimulate your child, then by the time your child is 3, your child should be independent enough at that level to do certain things that are age appropriate at that level. Now, one of the reasons that your child may not be doing it is because you or the people who are minding that child have not given the child the opportunity to do these things. Now, this becomes a problem in the child's learning. This becomes a problem in the child's education. It sounds like it is something small, but do you know, parents, that your children that have not been given the opportunity to be independent can actually grow up to have some learning challenges, and they can actually, apart from being entitled, they can actually end up having certain learning challenges just because they were not allowed to build muscles in these areas. Yes. So you see a child that has not been allowed to problem solve, allowed to do any form of critical thinking. Your child is not allowed to think. Your child is not allowed to explore their curiosity. Your child is not allowed, right, to solve little problems around them because Agnes is around carrying the child up and down the place. Your child is not allowed to move around, go outdoor, play, come in, play, and all of that. Your child is not given all of this opportunity. You think that, because you have some of us have 3 helps in our homes, right? And we brag about these things. We have 2 helps, we have 3 helps, as one is feeding the baby, the other one is wiping the baby, the other one is carrying the baby. This one, the child can't go out, the child can't do this, the child can't do that. And somehow we think that we are helping the child. Little do we know that we are actually creating a problem for that child. And these problems will show up not only in their physical, their strength, right? It will show up not only in their physical strength and in their ability to do things on their own. It will show up even in their academics. It will show up in how they learn generally, academically, socially, emotionally. It will show up in all areas of their lives, and that way you become the obstacle just because you didn't know any better, and the people that you have handling your child do not know any better. So it's something that you need to pay attention to. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to foster independence. So from day one, I said at the beginning that our children need to be supported from day one. So from the day your child is birthed, position yourself and say to yourself, I'm going to support this child. Now, supporting the child does not mean I'm going to do everything for you. Supporting the child means I'm going to do with you, not for you. Okay, so there is a concept of doing with, not doing by. All right, so you don't do, right, everything for your child. So there is a rule, right, that do not do for a child what the child can do for themselves. So yes, at every point, for your 3-month-old, there are certain things that your 3 months, okay, maybe when they're not when they are 3, right, 3 months. But do you know that you can start speaking to your 3-month-old and you can start describing, right, what your 3-month-old can do while you are talking to the child? Everything I told you during the first 3 years of your child's life, the child is absorbing everything in their environment. So your child is absorbing what you are saying. What language are you speaking? What's the content of what you are saying to your child? Dear parents, your child is absorbing. So, yes, the child may not be able to do with their hands yet, but the child is able to create using your words. So, use those words, still speak those words to your children so that your child is creating using their words, their sense of hearing. So speak those words to your child, right? Let the child know what you're doing. Hey, sweetie, it's time for us to change your diaper. All right. So mom is going to take the wipes and I'm going to give you a wipe from the front to the back. Have fun raising your child. Have fun teaching your child. I hope you know that at this stage, your teacher ability is already activated. Aha. As a parent, you are your child's first and most important teacher. So at this point, it is already activated. All right. So the teacher in you is already activated. So why don't you maximize and be that kind of teacher that, speaks to your child, that speaks to your learner, right? You are the teacher that communicates with your learner. So open up that communication line as early as possible. Begin to communicate with your child, communicate with the learner. You'll be amazed at the kind of communication that will go on with you and that child when the child is 6. You should listen to me and my 8-year-old daughter speak. You'll be amazed. I mean, if I leave my 8-year-old with you, when I come back, you will ask me, what happened? What did you do here? Because she will engage you at every level. She would engage you at every level. And that's because she has been engaged in conversations from day one. Very key. My 14-year-old cannot even engage you as much as my 8-year-old can engage you. And that's because my 14-year-old came at the time that I was on that WhatsApp group of ignorant parents who didn't know. I mean, and then ignorance here is not meant to be, demeaning or abusive. It's just where we happen to be just because of, how much information or knowledge or wisdom rather is available to us as parents. All right. So I was on that WhatsApp group, big time member of the WhatsApp group of ignorant parents at the time. Okay. So at the time, so yes, I couldn't, do so much at the time. So as I said, with our 8-year-old, the engagement is here, right? All right. So yeah. So the other thing you want to do is you want to create routines. All right. So you want to create routines. Routines is how you raise your toddlers. Routine is the ultimate when you are raising your toddler. Our children, your toddler will thrive when they can predict what's going when there's predictability in their environment. That is part of the environment. I said your child is an offspring of their environment. So you want to ensure that there's predictability in that environment. So yes, you want to create routines. Let the child know at every point where the child should be able to predict. In fact, your child should walk up to you and pick their plate when it is time to eat, just because the child can predict that it is time to eat. That is one of the best ways to create stability in the life of your child, by ensuring that you have routines. Very, very key. We have a course that is coming up we're opening registration for that course very soon. As in, it's an amazing course for toddler parents and children, parents of young children. It's all about how you can learn to incorporate play and create a perfect environment to raise your children. How you can use play to maximize your child's ability or capacity. A lot of times, why parents don't do anything with their toddlers is because you don't know what to do. You don't know how to go about, supporting your toddlers. These are the ones that are the most difficult to support. A lot of parents do not know how to support their toddlers. We want to help you. Okay, my team and I want to help you learn how to support your toddlers so that you stop wasting the first 6 years of your children's life thinking that all they need is to go to school and back, or all that they need is to have a lesson teacher. Why does your 0 to 6 year old need anything like a lesson teacher. Why? Why? It's because you don't know what to do. So stop wasting all of that money and learn what you need to learn to maximize your child's potential. I tell you, maximize you will do 10 times more for that child than just walking away and having someone come and sit with the child for 3 hours a day. I mean, sorry, for 1.5 hours a day in the name of, helping the child academically. There's a lot that you can do. A lot. That course will be out soon. Please, when you see, jump in and take it immediately. The team that I'm bringing for you, in that course, even you look for me and you thank me. In fact, pay double after the course. It will be so, as in, robust. All right, so robust, that course. It's going to be amazing. All right, so number 2, let's rush. Okay, number 3 is you want to theme your environment, dear parents. Theme your environment. Let your environment exude knowledge. Let your environment exude what it is that you want to, the vision that you have for your children. Let your environment speak of that vision. If you walk into my home, there's one thing, the first thing that will hit you is artwork. Okay, the first thing that will hit you when you walk into my home is artwork. Okay, now the arts that we have in our home are arts that will trigger the child. It's a lot of abstracts here. Every art has got a story. So all the children, if you come into my home and you say something, oh, I like that art, my children will start telling you that artwork. My children will start telling you the story. Every artwork in my home has got a story. All right. So what story, what vision do you have for your children? What do you want them to speak? The language that you want your children to speak, what you want to see in your children, then theme your home. If you walk into my living room, you will see a piano sitting somewhere there. All right, you will see a piano sitting somewhere there, and that's the reason my kids can wake up in the morning and first thing sit down at the piano and they are playing, playing the piano. What do you want to see? What's a vision that you have? Who are you raising? Let the theme in your home speak of who you are raising. By the time you walk from my living room and you're walking towards the bedroom, you will see my family vision, our family mission. You will see our media plan. You will see our tagline. So our children have in their faces who we are. They can see clearly who we are, where we are going to, what our journey is. They know, they can see. So even if you walk in as a visitor in my home, all you need to be is here for 24 hours and you can tell what we are about, because our home is themed to to raise who we want to raise. So yes, your toddler is going to be what is an offspring of his environment. So what's in your environment? What is in your environment that your toddler is going to become? That's what we are talking about. All right. If you walk into our children's room, as you get in there, boom, you will see their prayer board. Boom, you will see their vision board. Boom, you will see their what do they call that wall? You will see the wall that has the 5 activities. My son has 9. He has 9. My daughter has 5. Basically 5 things that they must do. What do they call it? Their whatever wall. All right. So 5 things that she must do, and she's numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all she needs to look at the end of the day is achieved. Boom. And he looks at his own. So sometimes he's not done. He looks, oh, I've not done this one, and then he gets to it. So what is it? How is your home themed? So your home needs to be themed, dear parents. All right. Number 4, collaboration. Who are the people who are working with you to raise this child? Who is raising your child with you? The school, your spouse, everyone that is a stakeholder. Then there has to be a deliberate system of collaboration. Do they have mentors? If at this point you have preteens and teenagers and they don't have mentors, which world are you in, dear parents? You cannot raise children who do not understand accountability. And it's not when they are 20 that all of a sudden they will understand the place of accountability. There is no need to to have our children struggle in the future. There is no need to wing these things. Okay, you just never know. Okay, maybe this one will get to the point and will understand the place of mentorship. Okay, maybe this one will not. No, why do you want to do that? Why don't you introduce these things early today so that it's a part of them and so they understand the importance of it? So by the time they are 20 and 25, they understand the place of mentorship. Why do you want your children to go step by step when they can leverage on mentorship, okay, the principle of mentorship, and have springboards at every point of their lives? See, parents, the 21st century requires a different kind of parenting. You cannot parent with the same templates that your parents parented you. So mentorship is a big deal. If you do not have people in your life that can say, hey, you, stop there. Hey, you, look at your process again. That's why we have men today that no one can stop. Not their wives, not their mother, not their father. You see women run into trouble with their spouses and there's nowhere to run to because, hey, they do not honor anybody in their life, and no one stands in that place where they can say to them, stop and look at your process. I was listening to what's his name, the young man that just got married this weekend, Moses Bliss, right? And his wife, and I was listening to him, when he was talking during the Bliss experience, and he said at the beginning of their courtship and all of that, they had a lot of things that were not resolved. They couldn't resolve and all of that. That was going to threaten, the future of their union or whatever, whatever they had found at the time. And he said how Pastor Nathaniel, was instrumental in them weathering that storm. That is part of the power of mentorship. People in your life that can come in. All right. So please, parents, let's engage our children and make sure that our children are connected to mentors in their life. The Mastermind Circle is a great place to introduce children to mentorship. Bring them to us where they can learn these things in subtle ways. We break things down. We make them understand. We bring this thing, to the barest level for these children to understand at foundation level. So when we finish with them, you can now take them to bigger, more advanced programs where they now understand the why. See, whenever the why, the reason behind the thing is not understood, there is bound to be abuse. Sometimes we just put a leash on our children and drag them to all kinds of things and all kinds of things, programs that are good for them, but because the children do not understand the why, or they are at the point where they are rebellious and they have blocked any sense of reasoning because they don't want what they don't want. At that point, you are struggling to help them. So you drag them to these things and they are there. You drag them to programs and mentorship, and they are there just being there because they don't have a choice. No, we don't want to raise children who do not have a choice. We want to raise who do things because they don't have a choice. We want to raise children who do things because they understand the why. And the Mastermind Circle is a wonderful place to get children to begin to understand, make baby steps towards these things. So by the time they are 13, 14, and we are graduating them to, out of the circle, they already have all that they need for the foundation, all the foundation that they need to understand what it is that is going on in their lives, if you know what I'm talking about. So yes, we have closed registration into the Mastermind Circle for this academic year. Okay, so enrollment begins already. So you can book a slot right now for your child to join us, but the child will join us in September. But book a slot with just 5,000 naira, and your child can come in, and the child can join us in September as a partner in the Mastermind Circle. It's a whole year subscription, and that subscription is 70,000 naira right now. So you can book with 5,000 and get your child to sit in that slot, and when the time is ready, when the time comes, the child, can join us in September. All right, the last one is you need to foster a relationship where your child is secured. You need to build a secure attachment. Let your child know that come what may, you are like God in their life. You're like Jesus, where your love for them is not tied to anything. No matter what it is, you are here, you will still love them, you will still, so even with their mistakes, you're loving them, even with their failures, you're loving them. Ensure that their boundaries, their consequences, okay, those consequences and those boundaries will hold. However, when your children make mistakes, even in the midst of all of this, let them know that you are here and they are always welcomed. All right, so we have gone 10 minutes past our time, and this is where we call it a day. All right, so I talked about our amazing books. You can get them. I already talked about Playtime Stories for Champions. I talked about Young and Money Smart for Perspective. I talked about Unlocking Excellence. There's another book that we have, Christmas Stories for Champions. Amazing books, perspective, stories, and conversation starters. Aha, if you don't have bedtime stories for champions, then what do you have? All right, so this is our first book, our bestseller, amazing book. The children in the Mastermind Circle are reading this month. It's full of stories of young people who are doing amazing things and changing the world, okay, even as young children. And then the skill of journal is to help your child become a reflective human being. Let your children start to think, what have I done today? What have I achieved? What can I do more? All right, let them learn to journal. It's a life skill that will benefit them today and will help shape their life for the future. Thank you very much if you made it here to the end of the show. All right, I hope you got value from this session. If you did, let us know in the comments that you did. If you have any questions, please, we would like to take them, but I can't see any questions right now. So thank you for joining us. Let us know in the comments if you got value from the session. And if you would like to enroll your child for the Mastermind Circle, all right, you can book a slot with just 5,000 Naira and then break your payments from now till August, all right? And your child can hop right in, all right, for this amazing transformational journey that is the Mastermind Circle. All right, if you want if you want to be a part of the toddler course, that's the registration will be out in a few by tomorrow, and you can hop in there. It will be an amazing experience, I promise you. Thank you very much for being here with us. We do not take it for granted that you allow us to be a part of your parenting journey. Have a fantastic rest of the day and have a blessed week. Bye.